Good afternoon and welcome to Cardinal O'Hara High School. It is a PCL matchup featuring the Cardinal O'Hara Lions and the Bonner-Prendie Pandas. Live on the Sports Fan Base Network. It is Phila Field Hockey Game of the Week, week number 6, and a PCL matchup between two teams that are extremely strong in Cardinal O'Hara at 5-4, Bonner-Prendie at 6-4. We'll get into where these two teams stand and how they got here, but our action on the field is underway, and it's O'Hara in the white kilts and tops with blue trim and numbers. Quick on the ball, Prendie in the black kilts, maroon jerseys with white numbers going on the line, and that is Maeve Sullivan with a quick hit, trying to get it on that outside line to Katie Caruso. Caruso cannot control, disturbed by two O'Hara defenders. She'll go for the self-start here, sending it back to Sullivan. Sullivan looking on the outside line, gets dispossessed by Grassi. That's Sarah Grassi, one of the junior captains for O'Hara, quickly inside the circle on the stick of Julia Ferraro, who was not listed as a starter for this match, but has found herself into the lineup. And an early penalty corner called on the infraction, a third-party obstruction on Ferraro, will send O'Hara to the spot. Matt Jolis along with Kathleen Hart in the broadcast booth today, bringing you all the action on the Sports Fan Base Network. O'Hara up top, one-time shot, kicks up inside the post, and a goal scored.
Wow.
For the Lions.
That did not take long. Oh, actually called back. No goal.
Okay, interesting situation there. The ball did tip up and go right into the inside of the crossbar. I guess calling it coming off of an O'Hara player inadvertently. So it ends up a 16-yard hit for Prendie going the opposite direction. So no goal on the board.
No surprise that this game is starting out super exciting because these are two very strong teams in the Philadelphia Catholic League. Right now, Prendie with an edge at 5-1 in the PCL and O'Hara at 4-1. Tied up overall, though, with 6-4. So definitely promising to be an extremely competitive game.
This is Reagan Dolan, the junior midfielder, trying to get the start. Heads up, gets it connected into her teammate, Brittany McCann. McCann was unable to control the zone. Sends it back out the other way. O'Hara insert. That is tipped off. Della George has it. She sends it across field, trying to get on the stick of Abby Hoyle. Hoyle, sophomore defender in the starting lineup today for the Pandas. Cannot control the outside line. O'Hara will have the restart. Self-started, swept down and through, trying to connect with Ferraro.
Both teams looking super aggressive, which again is no surprise for a PCL game. I went out to see a youth tournament of some of the schools in the CYO League and was blown away by how aggressive they are at the age of 10 and 12. And it carries over. Always just teams that are gritty and work hard and leave nothing on the field.
Insert for O'Hara, tipped off there on the stick of Reagan Dolan. Goes back out of the side, and O'Hara has a restart again. This one goes across the baseline and out of bounds. So it will be a 16-yard hit. Inserted start. O'Hara trying to get possession, trying to get the midfield zone. It comes back, landing on the stick of Erin Weld. Sending it through the midfield, now with Shallow. Emma Shallow trying to get play. She moves up on the line to Emily Resch. Resch had it quickly, switching back. Now back into the possession for Prendie. Brooke Quinn trying to hold it from going out of bounds. She is unable to do so.
Prendie doing a good job collapsing on the ball carrier. On free positions and open field play, when you see the white team, O'Hara with the ball, you also see 3 or 4 maroon jerseys right there.
This is a pickup and a chance to try to get inside of the circle. A pass/shot from Shallow clicks off of a Prendie stick going wide. Restart for the Lions up top. Sends it across on the stick of Shallow. Shallow called for the infraction there, sending it in a sweep start from Prendie onto the stick of Maeve Finnegan. Finnegan, a junior midfielder, one of the 3-4 captains in the starting lineup for Prendie. O'Hara captained by junior Sarah Grassi and midfield sophomore Emma Shallow, who we've both mentioned today. Senior Aaron Weld, a defenseman for the Lions, also one of the 3 captains for the squad, coached by Carly Spader and assisted by her sister Jenna Spader.
Prendie's Della George has already shown as a defense person, a defensewoman in this game. She has stepped up to get that ball back in transition, get it up to her midfielders and her forward line.
Midfield start here for the Pandas on the stick of Reagan Dolan. Long sweep that is taken immediately out of play by Sammy Randazzo. And a kick play trying to get onto a Panda stick does not work. That was Bridie McCann trying to control the ball there. Sends it back out Lions way. Gets picked up on the stick of Grassi. Grassi's spinning left, right. Missed connected pass. Sends it back onto the stick of Dolan. Dolan sweeps across and it will just get kicked away by the goalie Gianna Travia.
Watching Reagan Dolan at the center midfield position is kind of a lot like watching her older sister, who's now in her second year at Villanova and played the center mid position for Prendie 2 years ago. She broke school records in assists and I believe points, and there's a lot of similarities in the fact that they both play with great poise and yet are power players, particularly on setting up their attack for scoring opportunities.
Dolan's insert tries to get redirected, tips into the leg of an O'Hara player, kicked out inside the circle, intentional foul called, so a first corner for Prendie. They go up top. It is Dolan. Dolan's sweep shot. She gets it right back to her. Sweeping shot again. Goes through. Travia has 1 save, has 2. Still trying to get the ball out of play. And finally, it is tipped over the back line. O'Hara has a restart. They elect to try to go quickly and break the Pandas' defense. They're unable to do so. Turned back over. And a sweep goes out of bounds, completely missing all maroon jerseys. So O'Hara will have a deep restart on the outside line. Far side start. They go through, controlled this time by Prendie, going, sweeping inside shot, and they score. A redirect.
Not sure who got their stick on the ball. There was a lot of action going on there in front of the goal cage. But nonetheless, I think it caught the defense and the keeper off guard.
In the mixer, and it comes off of the stick of Haley Horan, the junior forward. Has the Pandas on the board, 1-0, 25-50. Sorry, 21-50 left to go in the first half. This is Prendie back with it again. Dolan sweeping across onto the stick of Finnegan. Finnegan trying to gain any possession that she can. She is bumped off of the ball, controlled now by O'Hara, who needs to quickly reset and find themselves. And here comes O'Hara's offense now, trying to release down the outside far line.
Unlike some of the teams, or quite a few of the teams that we've seen this year, O'Hara really stretches their attack. So when the ball's back on their defensive end, they still keep Grassi and some of their attackers up high, looking for a nice fast break or a good transition.
After the goal scorer substitution made, Mackenzie Resch came in at the forward position for O'Hara. You'll see her in the white jersey with the number 2 on it. Resch, a sophomore forward. Already an interesting story behind her playing on this team with her sister Emily Resch. Resch, a senior midfielder, and the 2 Resch sisters have been a big connection for the O'Hara Lions throughout the course of this season. We'll see what they can do today. Mixer inside, 4 white jerseys, around 7 maroon jerseys of Prendie, and they have it coming out in a run down the line with McCann. McCann here now trying to go inside. She is dispossessed by 3 O'Hara jerseys featuring Emma Shallow. Shallow sweeps through, tipping around onto the stick now of Resch. That's Emily Resch.
O'Hara moving the ball very nicely, very quickly, definitely keeping Prendie's defense on their toes.
Sweep shot from Shallow does not make it through. Knocked off play. O'Hara gaining. This is Camper. Now Camper trying to move the outside line. She will sweep inside. Redirected play off of the stick of Grassi. Sends it across the baseline. It is called off the stick of a Prendie player, so it will go up to Emily Resch for the start. About 30 yards out. Resch will look, trying to find any connection. She will just tap, self-start, drag, body back behind, tipping it through, cannot control, picked off, and it is her sister, Mackenzie Resch, who gets the turnover, sends it back the way of her sister, Emily. Obstruction called.
Right now, these teams sit in second and third place in the PCL with Prendie edging O'Hara. And at the top of the PCL, undefeated Carroll, undefeated in league play, that is.
Sweep shot by Emily Resch. Gets through to the Prendie defense before it is stopped. An obstruction call sends it back the way. Body to body, turned over, blocked out of being able to turn is O'Hara, and so they have a restart. This is Emily Resch now in the mid, trying to send it to the circle. Foot called there, infraction on the play. And they are just ticking away the yardage here as Katie Shallow tries to go in, but she is blocked out. Sending it back up top. Shallow tries to get anything, cannot. No corner called. As they sweep inside, O'Hara actually called for the infraction, and it was Katie Shallow who was dumped on the play.
But she is an aggressive one, and she wants it. I kind of felt like that was their opportunity right there, even though there was many Prendie shirts inside the circle. Just the sheer grit of O'Hara. I thought they were going to get it in there.
For O'Hara, it seems when one person plays, everyone plays. 2 Shallows on the field, 2 Resches on the field right now. So 4/11ths of the O'Hara roster taken up by 2 families. Outside position play. Infraction called, and this is Katie Caruso. Caruso goes up top. 5 yards not given. Penalty corner called. Second of the half for Prendie. See if they can convert this one for what would be their second goal of the match. Up top, tapped, controlled, sent over. Sweeping shot goes wide of the cage. That was Reagan Dolan who had the last connection on it.
And boy, believe that was Mae Finnegan on the post, and she was wide open, completely unmarked. She missed the ball, missed redirecting it, but solid effort.
Quick shot and a long sweep from O'Hara does not connect with Katie Shallow, and then they try to keep it inbound from Marie Kemper. Kemper is unable to do so. Pops out of play. It will be a restart on the line for Sullivan. Check that. She hands it off, so it's Dolan. Dolan getting the restart. Comes up top through the play, landing on the stick of Rachel Dubé, getting her first action of the game today. And now in a battle 1v1 on the sideline was Dolan along with Sarah Grassi. Grassi gets the avail on that one, sending it all the way down, kicked away by Chelsea Rafferty, the goalkeeper for Prendie. Onto the stick of Grassi. She sends it over, sweeps back across now with Emily Resch. Resch sweeping shot wide of everyone and the cage. Turnover will give it back to Prendie. Dolan for the self-start. Sweeps through, trying to get onto a stick. Midfield player tipped and turned over. O'Hara has it now here on the outside with Camper. Camper gets inside position. This is Katie Shallow. Shallow sending it off. Dispossession play. Prendie trying to turn over, and that long pass down the line is intercepted. Sends back, and O'Hara has it right here in the middle. Turn play coming up and called for an infraction. Looks like they called the obstruction. She had her body completely back behind. And we're going to get a card issued to number 2, Mackenzie Resch. So Resch will go to the box for 2 minutes. So Prendie on the advantage here with Resch in the box. 5-yard infraction called against Resch and a card issued this time for the infraction.
Favazi coming up with 2 key turnovers or forced turnovers. Let's see if she can get the ball rolling back in O'Hara's favor to get another shot on goal.
O'Hara has had a majority of the offensive run in the last 5 minutes, but is unable to get anything inside the circle that has turned to a quality chance on goal. And now O'Hara, thinking that they had offensive possession, is incorrect here, so it'll actually be Prendie going the way, and that's Dolan now. Sweep shot. She tries to go through. Gets on the stick of Haran, but Haley Haran is unable to control correctly. Had her stick above her waist there. Dangerous play.
This is the first PCL game that has been featured in the Phila Field Hockey Game of the Week. The schools, several of the schools have been up in the polls, but this is the first time this year that the PCL teams have actually won the poll, and there was about 2,100 votes cast with this game winning the share.
Gracie Miller entering the game for the Pandas, the freshman forward, getting her first action on the day. This is a ball passed all the way back on the stick of Randazzo. Randazzo, dazzling with what she can do stick-wise, sends it to Camper. Camper is impacted, and so it will be a restart here for Emily Resch. Resch now trying to gain the circle, tips off of the leg of Della George. Restart just at the top of the circle here again for Resch. Resch pushes back a little bit. Now restarts, goes right around, Deke play, gets it onto the body of a Prendie player, sends it out of bounds, so Resch will have a restart one more time, but she will have to come back about 30 yards from goal.
O'Hara's attack, although feisty, it's just slow getting things going. By the time they kind of get things going, the Prendie defense is all set. I think they need to look toward fast breaking or creating offensive opportunities quicker.
Rush out of the reach of Camper there, so it's a turnover and a restart by Dolan. Are you surprised by the stickwork of Emily Resch, kind of deking around players there?
Not surprised. I mean, always highly skilled players in the PCL, aggressive, as I've said before, but definitely skilled with fine stick work and a good hockey IQ.
Prendie now trying to gain the zone offensively. They are deep here with Dolan. Dolan sweeps through, gets it into the circle, but Prendie's defense this time guilty of the obstruction call. So it will be a restart for the Lions. Quick send out into no man's land on the stick of Weld. Right back to Prendie. Prendie has a chance here, but that is shot right up into Randazzo. And a timeout called by O'Hara. This live video stream of the Phila Field Hockey Game of the Week is brought to you by Payroll Service Solutions. Based right outside of Philadelphia, Payroll Service Solutions is a huge supporter of high school sports and the Sports Fan-based network. If you are a small to medium-sized business in need of a payroll and benefits company, contact Payroll Service Solutions. Not only will they take care of you, they will continue to support the community. For more information, contact Payroll Service Solutions at 215-624-0922 or 866 Pay Easy, live on the Sports Fan-based network at Cardinal O'Hara High School. Phila Field Hockey Game of the Week, week number 6, featuring the Cardinal O'Hara Lions and the Bonner-Prendie Pandas. It has been a very fast-paced, frenetic first half of the half. 11:20 left to go on the clock, and Prendie just the slim margin of a 1-0 lead. And not too much from the O'Hara offense in the ways of shots bothering goaltender Chelsea Rafferty. They've gotten deep, but it seems every time they get within side of the circle, they're called for an infraction and sending it back the other way.
Or they're just a little bit slow to kind of get that ball rolling before the defense is set, where on the flip side, Prendie is definitely getting a little bit more offensive action inside their 25 when their numbers up. It might be 3 Prendie players against 2 O'Hara defenders. It's still obviously anyone's game. 2 talented teams with lots of action inside each of the 25s. It's just a matter of who can finish. And I would love to see O'Hara make things happen a little bit quicker to kind of even up the score. At the same time, I'm certainly not rooting for O'Hara. I'm not rooting for Prendie. That's the good thing about being with Phila Field Hockey. I cover 110 schools. I root for everyone. But just love to see this game kind of even out to make it even that much more exciting.
As we mentioned, the 1 goal, 21:50 left in the first half, so just a very shy 9 minutes into this game, and Haley Horan put one into the net for the Pandas, and that is that 1 goal lead that we have so far. Restarted here after the timeout. Prendie coming with a run again. It is onto the stick of Caruso. Caruso with a chance here. Dispossessed by Randazzo. Randazzo sends it all the way up. That is controlled off of play by Maeve Sullivan. Sullivan in a 1v1 battle with Grassi. Won for a moment and then turned right back over, and it is Daly Ewing here now for Prendie.
Okay, here we have an even numbers. 3 attack, 3 defense. Can O'Hara get it rolling? The defense for Prendie has really been outstanding, though. They have been a brick wall.
Battled back, turned over. Reagan Dolan tries to go to the outside. She was looking for Bridie McCann. Unable to release her, sends it out of bounds, and Randazzo will have a restart. This will tip up off of a Prendie stick, tapped and controlled finally by Camper. Camper sends it to Grassi. Grassi looks back into the midfield, dispossessed, but getting in front of it is Emily Resch. Resch looks down the line, tipped off and controlled by Grassi. Grassi is guilty of an infraction, and it sends back Prendie's way, and that seems to be how O'Hara's offense has gone on just about every drive so far. Emily Resch now here with the restart on the sideline. Resch looking, very little movement from O'Hara. No mark, no option. Resch draws inside, just gets the infraction and the restart. Resch looking again, still no movement from O'Hara. Trying to find play. She will just have to self-start. She draws, tries to go to the outside. It goes across the baseline, out of bounds. So a 16-yard hit for Prendie. Quickly starting Dolan, trying to find place on the outside line. Tips through a teammate, gets on the stick of Bridie McCann. McCann here now, trying to find. Goes back, puts it into the stick of Haley Horan. Horan tripped on the play, loses possession of the ball, sends it back to O'Hara. An O'Hara midfield play is quickly dispossessed, but blocked by 2 players. Now a pass errantly goes into a stick of a Prendie player, swept down the field, out of play from everyone. And Randazzo will have the 16-yard restart. Sweeping hit from Randazzo. again evades O'Hara sticks, landing this time on the stick that's made Finnegan. Finnegan tries to go inside. She has nothing, sweeps to the outside line, and a midfield chance dispossessed. That is Grace Husey, who has entered into the game now for O'Hara, the senior midfielder.
Prendie's been working the ball up the left side a lot, and they did score and have most of their offensive push when the ball's been leading from the right side. So I kept thinking they were going to swing it, which they did there, but didn't quite connect past that first change of field pass.
And a body-to-body collision midfield goes the way of O'Hara in this instance. Check that. It's going to go the way of Prendie, actually, and Reagan Dolan's going to have the restart.
I'm waiting for these many fans, really kind of filling in the stands for a lot of fans here for a Wednesday afternoon game. But this is field hockey country, and these two teams are rivals through and through.
A flick by Dolan. She was trying to get to the stick of Brooke Quinn. Quinn chopped it down above her waist, called for the obvious infraction there, sends it back midfield to O'Hara. Quick start play coming up here from Dolan. She is the only Prendie player within anywhere of 7 yards. Dolan tries to self-start, does not get way, and now she is impacted again on the second start, this time called for the infraction as O'Hara had clear possession of it.
I think that's one thing Prendie does very well, and they've been successful, is they spread their attack a little bit. They're not passing 2-yard passes, 3-yard passes. They're maybe making 8, 10-yard passes, and they spread their attack a little bit more, make the defense work, and push the ball up faster than their opponent.
This is Michaela Favazza with a draw down the line. She was unable to get anything through. Now Mackenzie Resch trying to get a defensive stop. It's deep into the corner. Circle play for Prendie. Tipped off and sent out of the way of the zone.
Dolan really has been a quarterback for the team, changing fields in the midfield, getting that ball to the attacker, who was then sweeping it across goal. Definitely an integral part of the Panda squad.
Pass play into the circle from Prendie, kicked out by Erin Weld. So the defense trying to come up strong here for the Lions. Goes through, trying to get onto the stick of Emily Resch. She is body checked in the process, a no-no in field hockey. And so it is Katie Shallow now here with a restart. That tries to go up, trying to get on the stick of DeFeo. DeFeo can't get anything going.
I think since the timeout, Prendie's definitely gained some momentum. Could see that O'Hara was working harder to get the ball up the field quicker.
Midfield play here for Prendie, kicked out by the O'Hara defense again, sent back in. This is now onto the stick of Dolan. Dolan cannot control, but it goes over to Caruso. Caruso's sweeping back. Dolan sweep shot from a reverse position, and she is unable to get it through the O'Hara defense, who is playing almost 6 white jerseys back in front of goaltender Gianna Trevia.
Now they're still keeping their top goal scorer well out of the defensive mix. I'm hoping to hit her in a big transition pass, allowing a breakaway.
Long play onto the stick of Haley Haran, and Haran impacted corner called. Third of the half.
So few corners, though. I mean, really, 4 corners altogether, penalty corners altogether, but Prendie definitely edging and taking advantage of those opportunities. I would think O'Hara would look, rather than almost trying to fire it on goal, look to force a corner, look to put the ball in their opponent's feet when the ball's down in their circle.
Bypasses Haran, goes up top, landing on the stick of Abby Hoyle. Hoyle has a swoop shot in, unable to connect, gets back onto the stick, lands to Grassi. Grassi turnover and a free run for Katie Shallow. She's wide open. 1v1 1v1 through the 5-hole score. Katie Shallow from midfield runs it all the way down, 1v1 5-hole through Chelsea Rafferty, and the Lions have knotted this game at 1-1.
That was fantastic. I mean, fantastic for the O'Hara team, and they did exactly what I think they needed to do. They needed to get a fast break, get the ball down in their attack before everything was settled. They were just moving very slowly, and they proved they can do that, even against a very strong defensive team like Prendie. So definitely some adjustments made after that halftime, or I'm sorry, after the timeout that proved effective.
3 minutes, 30 seconds left to go in the first half, and Katie Shallow, after a 25-yard sweep to midfield, takes it 1v1 the remaining 50 and puts it through the 5-hole of keeper Chelsea Rafferty and has us knotted at 1. Back in action here as we go through Prendie, trying to gain possession. They are unable to do so midfield. This is swept through by Emma Shallow. Emma Shallow getting it on the stick of Sarah Grassi. Grassi now tied up. Grassi gets called for the obstruction. Quick restart tried to go by Katie Shallow. She seems to want to put 2 on the board, and she's a little too quick, so Emily Resch will get the set-up restart. Resch kicks it back here. Swept through back to Resch. Emily Resch trying to find any offensive space that she can, landing onto the stick. And it goes bouncing through. No pickup by any O'Hara player. Bounced just off of about every single player on the field before trickling out of bounds. Finally last off of a Prendie player. That's Emily Resch with this start and a corner called for O'Hara, as Resch had no room to maneuver and eventually gets picked off by 2 Prendie players. Third-party obstruction called inside the circle.
Second corner, penalty corner of the game for O'Hara.
5th overall in the half sends O'Hara to the spot, 2 up top. They send it all the way out, connects off the stick of Emily Resch. Resch trying to gain any space, cannot. Wicked chance from Favaza, connects with only the body of a Prendie player.
Strong defense on that corner by Dolan. Able to not only come up with the ball, but gain 30 yards, 40 yards for her team on that pass.
Last minute of play here in the first half, all knotted at 1. O'Hara trying to gain zone and gain play. This time they're guilty of the obstruction call, sending it on the stick of Maeve Sullivan. Sullivan looked like she was going to flick, instead decides to sweep through. Lands through, gets picked up on the stick of Ferrolio. Julia Ferrolio tried to get something going, instead it kicks back. Rendazzo here starting in the defensive position to Camper. Camper 1v1 defensively against Dolan. Dolan sweeps through and she is just picked off by Katie Shallow. Shallow trying to release Ferrallo. She has her free. She is picked off in the midfield and Shallow tries to make a jab check. Unable to connect. This is picked off again on the outside by Favaza. Favaza has it to the outside of Gatto. And the horn sounds, ending the first half of play. So they will go to the locker rooms all knotted at 1. That was probably the best field hockey you could call for 30 minutes.
I mean, honestly, so competitive. 1 minute, one team possessing it inside their circle. 30 seconds later, the ball's down the opposite end. Pretty much exactly what we expected, though. 2 highly competitive teams, skilled, well-coached, playing well-executed hockey.
Prendie seemingly through the first half wanting to play tic-tac style, just short passes, gain possession, gain yards down into the circle, and then take their chances with inside from about 12 to 15. O'Hara, it took them until almost 25 minutes into this game to finally realize go long. They do release Katie Shallow on a long 25-yard pass. She takes it the rest of the 50 way for a score.
And I think that play was exactly what they needed to do. They needed to get the ball down quicker before Prendie had a chance to set up their defense. Their backfield, their midfield, very strong. They needed to get there before they were set. That timeout was definitely pivotal in the game because you saw a different O'Hara after the timeout. And Prendie sticking with their game plan, really strong passing, just strong lines from attack, midfield, defense, really no holes on their team.
We're going to take a quick break on the Sports Fan Base Network, and we'll be right back with second half action on the Payroll Services Solutions Phila Field Hockey Game of the Week. Back live on the Payroll Services Solutions Phila Field Hockey Game of the Week. This live video stream of the Philadelphia Field Hockey Game of the Week is brought to you by Payroll Service Solutions, based right outside of Philadelphia. Payroll Service Solutions is a huge supporter of high school sports and the Sports Fan Base Network. If you are a small to medium-sized business in need of a payroll and benefits company, contact Payroll Services Solutions. Not only will they take care of you, they will continue to support the community. For more information, contact Payroll Service Solutions at 215-624-0922 or 866-PAY-EASY. Matt Jolis along with Kathleen Simone in the broadcast booth here at Cardinal O'Hara High School on the Sports Fan Base Network. Week 6 of the Phila Field Hockey Game of the Week, and the first time that we've seen a PCL matchup and a doozy between two legendary programs in the Bonner-Prendie Pandas and the Cardinal O'Hara Lions, knotted at 1 apiece with 30 minutes to go, at least in regulation. We got here on a goal just about 9 minutes into the game from Haley Horan off of a mixer ball inside the circle, sent Prendie to a 1-0 lead, and then with just 3:30 left to go in the half, Katie Shallow picks up a ball at midfield on a 25-yard pass and then just runs 1v1 50 yards through the 5-hole of goaltender Chelsea Rafferty for the goal, puts us knotted at 1. A possession play here from Prendie tips off of an O'Hara stick, so it will get restarted on the outside line. Abby Hoyle is the deep player, but it will actually go to Reagan Dolan. So Dolan will have the restart here. She has Maeve Sullivan short. She instead tries to go long and connect it onto either the stick of Brooke Quinn, who is the very long option, or tried to land it onto the stick of Maeve Finnegan. Neither of them able to do so. Now Dolan goes again. This time she connects with Quinn, and Quinn has a run deep, and it goes across the baseline. She is unable to control, so O'Hara will have run of play here from a 16-yard start. Thoughts on the first half, which seemed to be a split of two halves? Prendie running the first 15 minutes of the game. O'Hara ran the second 15.
You read my mind. I mean, that's exactly what it was. Prendie controlled the tempo, set the pace for the first part of the first half, and it was the flip side for the second half when Cardinal O'Hara really stepped it up and showed
does not come to avail and sends out the way the O'Hara defense restart opportunity here, and they cannot control, so it is turned over onto the stick of Gatto. Gianna Gatto, the senior midfielder for the Lions, sends it through, lands onto the stick of Katie Shallow, who put the goal up for O'Hara. Sweep shot inside from Grassi. Grassi cannot connect. Back onto the stick of Emily Resch. Rifles one in, kicked away by Rafferty. Pops in to the body of a Prendie player, and then down for a corner.
That was a nice offensive sequence with about 4 O'Hara players involved in that, passing beautifully and creating a quarter opportunity.
First corner of the half for the Lions, third overall. They push up top, lands on the stick of Favaza. Favaza over, kicks through, pops up on the shot from Emily Resch. Off of the goaltender, Rafferty pops down again. Obstruction called, corner return.
And that's another thing I mentioned in the first half, that I thought O'Hara had to look to force corners since Prendie's defense is so strong and it's so hard to penetrate on open field play. And to create 2 corners within the first 5 minutes is impressive.
Second corner of the half, fourth overall for O'Hara. They tried to go to Favaza. Favaza tried to go to Rendazzo. Rendazzo was unable to hold. Ball trickles around on the outside sideline and then finally pops out off of a Prendie stick. Emily Resch restarts to Favaza. Favaza down low, back to Resch. Resch trying to gain the circle, sweep shot, and goes to nowhere.
I think every youth player in the CYO in Delaware County is at this game. I see shirts from all different CYO programs, parents, classmates, fans. It's really refreshing for a Wednesday afternoon to see so many people at this Phila Field Hockey Game of the Week.
This game started at 3:45 and to a moderate to light crowd, and at 4:30 here has now filled to an almost completely packed stadium.
Katie Caruso has been absolutely fantastic as a defender slash midfielder. I'm not sure. Actually, she's listed as a forward, but she's been back there on the defense and really transitioned the ball up.
Picked up on the stick of Randazzo. She tries to get it through into her offensive zone of play. It is impacted. A restart came from Emily Resch. She is impacted, and a yellow card issued to Maeve Sullivan will put her into the box for 5 minutes.
Wow.
That is a big penalty for Sullivan and the Pandas to take, especially with the way O'Hara's offense has come on fire in the last 20 minutes of this game.
That's huge, and Prendie's going to have to really work on maintaining possession. They cannot let the ball into O'Hara's hands because playing a man down at this level of hockey is extremely detrimental.
Prendie trying to do what they can here, short-handed. This is on the stick of Finnegan. Finnegan sends it into the backfield, an errant pass onto the stick of Della George, and O'Hara has run of play here. Goes on the outside to Shallow. Katie Shallow inside the circle, tips through on, and a goal scored. A deflection tip off of the stick, shot by Katie Shallow.
She has been a real force for O'Hara today. That was just beautiful. Looks like my guess is that Prendie
called by Prendie. A shot from Shallow came inside, tipped off of the stick of Rosie DeFeo, and then gets past Chelsea Rafferty into the cage for the second goal of the game for the Lions.
And again, O'Hara made that happen quicker. So I think we're seeing the real O'Hara. I think we didn't see them in the first part of the first half, and now we're seeing the true colors of both teams. Both very impressive squads.
It seems to be that whatever was said about midway through the first half and a timeout by head coach Carly Spader flipped this game completely over and has sent it the way of the Lions. And now we are just in a situation where head coach Joanne Dolan and the Prendie Pandas are going to need to come up with something to stop this gut fire that has lit in the Lions offense.
You've heard me say it before. I love timeouts. I love seeing what teams do after timeouts. I love seeing the pivotal changes the coaches will suggest and how the team executes that. And Prendie is a very disciplined team. You can see they have a lot of systems in place. They know the game. They know where to be. And so it'll be interesting to see the changes they make to counter this O'Hara attack that's come on so strong and fast.
You think O'Hara hasn't changed this game, but has also changed their demeanor? In the midst of their timeout circle, we heard a cheer go out from the team for whatever reason of that nature being. So obviously the Spader sisters that coach this team are having a little fun with them. But we've also seen a few of the players dancing around too. They certainly have gotten themselves to another level in this match, and it's going to become very hard for Prendie in the remaining 23 minutes.
And that dancing, that cheering, it's kind of indicative of playing a little bit more relaxed. I think in the beginning of this game, they were the underdogs, having lost the last 2 times they've met up. And now they're just letting loose and letting their true colors shine.
So you mentioned all of the youth clubs and CYO teams and players that are in the house tonight. And, of course, for Bonner-Prendie, they have 4 players that are in the youth club programming with Della George, Mae Finnegan, Reagan Dolan, Daly Ewing. All 4 of them are going to play in the Shooting Stars Showcase over the Thanksgiving weekend, and they all 4 play on the same Horizon FHC team.
So many of these players play on some of the local clubs, and you can't really get better than the clubs that we have in the Philadelphia area. There are 13 Philly area clubs, 3 nationally ranked in the top 10 at different divisions, and all of them very competitive. So playing in the off-season, playing winter ball, playing in the spring with these clubs has just elevated the high school programs and really created top-notch hockey.
Another whistle called by the officials here on what seemed to be a run of play for Prendie, and it looks like they were a little too quick on the start. So they're going to have to take it back to the original position. So restart here from Caruso. Caruso now tries to sweep down the sideline, dispossessed by an O'Hara player, tips through, eventually does land on the stick of Emma Beatty. And so Emma Beatty, the freshman forward, who actually is the leading scorer on this Prendie team, now finally finding her first action of the game. Sweeping play and a dangerous play called as she was just on the line of the circle, but the stick going way above her head even was Reagan Dolan, so nothing on that shot for Prendie. Sends the way of O'Hara, restarted here by Weld. Weld can't find an offensive player to pass to. It lands on Dolan. Dolan runs into the wall that is Emily Resch, and Resch wins the battle, and it sends the way of O'Hara, pricked off by Bridie McGann. McGann in a 1v1 battle, taken off. Sweeping pass coming all the way across. A running O'Hara player is Marie Camper.
She stood out for me. She is gutsy, and she's going to lay it all on the line there, and that was a perfect indication of that. I believe that Prendie's still playing a man down.
Prendie is still playing one down. Maeve Sullivan in the box for 5 minutes on the yellow card infraction. And after O'Hara tried to have a run with Camper and Gatto.
Nice pickoff there.
And that's Gatto there defensively for O'Hara coming into play. Restart by Finnegan. Check that. She will leave it. It will actually get restarted by Dolan. So Dolan will try to go to the aforementioned Finnegan. Cannot be controlled. Restart on the line now for Favaza. Favaza tips inside to Emily Resch. Resch has been pivotal in the midfield for the Lions today. This goes through third-party obstruction called. 2 white jerseys on 1 maroon jersey. And the outside pass comes away and lands on the stick of Emily Resch. Resch gets tripped up on the play. Chance here for Shallow. She can't do it. Goes all the way across, picked off by Camper. Camper has a free run on the outside line. Coming through, she was trying to get it to DeFeo. Cannot go. Prendie now has a run of play here. Outside line picked up. Sweeping back to the midfield on the stick of Caruso. Caruso playing a tic-tac-toe run. That's Beatty. Beatty trying to gain the circle. She cannot do so. Caruso again. Advantage called.
There's Caruso again, creating opportunities for the Pandas. Oh.
Sweeping shot went inside, tips up into the body. Looked like to be Alexis Egan guilty of the infraction there, as she played it with her body and her stick above her head as well.
It's interesting because both of these teams are definitely field hockey strong year after year, and yet many of the athletes are multi-sport athletes. I was excited to see that O'Hara has 3 girls that are committed to play, 2 in college, 2 for lacrosse, and 1 softball player. So, and we both know that they also have a very strong basketball program with several of the girls participating. So it's just always nice to see at the high school level girls continuing to play more than one sport.
That is correct, as O'Hara has Emily Resch headed to Old Dominion University next year. She's going to be playing lacrosse. Erin Grady's headed to Catholic U for lacrosse, and then Grace Husey headed to Elizabethtown for softball. This is Prendie here trying to get a run of play, miss hit, picked off. That's Gatto with a chance to turn it back for O'Hara. 1v1 defensively on the sideline in a battle. And it will be a restart here by Finnegan. Finnegan trying to get through. That's Gatto giving her absolutely no space to work whatsoever. And again, Gatto just tips the ball out of bounds. Finnegan, one more chance here. Tries to go through the middle this time. Lands it into the middle of 4 white jerseys. Only 2 maroon jerseys. And a bouncing ball and a whistle called. Not entirely sure there what the call actually was, as it was wide open in field of play. Nothing nefarious, but O'Hara will try to go to the offensive side. They get it landing on the stick of Katie Shallow. Both of these teams showing off the conviction of their conditioning, as they have played with pretty much who they started this half with. And this is Katie Shallow, ball up the midfield. She is picked by Maeve Sullivan. And so a sweep play. Did it tip off of an O'Hara player? It was a sweeping shot that tipped off of a few players and went into the net behind. And so it is going to be called tipped off of a Prendie player. So O'Hara's restart. That comes away, and Ferralio tries to get anything she can. She's unable to do so. So it will go outside for Camper.
You just mentioned, Matt, that very few subs have been utilized this game, and I'm starting to see a little fatigue on some of the players. I'm kind of thinking that some fresh legs might be the spark that either of these teams need. It's not to say that they're not in shape, but they're putting on a lot of mileage. There's a lot of back and forth in this game. It's not that the ball's caught between the 30-yard lines. And seeing, especially on a dead ball, the players without the ball kind of standing and waiting. So it'll be interesting to see if we get some fresh legs in.
Haley Horan tries to draw to the outside line, and as we just talked about that, to the dot goes an O'Hara sub, waiting for that opportunity to enter.
It's hard when you have such faith in your starting lineup, but certainly fresh legs bring a whole new element to the game, and these teams are definitely deep in talent. So they can afford to utilize their second string.
Outside play controlled by Shallow, who shrugs her shoulders as the whistle is blown. Sent back for Reagan Dolan to self-start.
Seems as though Prendie is kind of looking a little bit like O'Hara did the beginning of the first half, where they're setting up, taking a while to setting up, not getting as many fast break or quick opportunities. And by that time, the O'Hara defense is all set.
Dolan goes to Hoyle to Finnegan on the outside line. Finnegan unable to gain space. Now she is on the restart in a 1v1 battle with Gatto. Finnegan gets to the top of the circle. Long pass on the interception. Tipped up and sent away. Here's Ferralio with a run. Julia Ferralio tipped, picked up, and controlled. And then she has to do only what she can, which is to cause a stick infraction against Bridie McCann, or Prendie would have been fast-paced the other way.
That was beautiful. McCann really stepped in there and just stopped that fast break.
Ferralio had no option but to stick check McCann, causing the obstruction call. And now here they go with Dolan released in the middle. O'Hara back the other way, and it's on the stick of Shallow. Shallow dekes one around. Inside, has a circle position picked off by Prendie and just swept out of the zone.
Nice defense, nice transition pass. I guess it did go out of bounds, I guess.
It did go out of bounds. Off from the outside line, Camper has the restart. She cannot connect. This pass intercepted. Ball pops up off of the body. Restart by Caruso. Caruso tries to do anything she can. Sweep shot, tips off of the stick of Emily Resch. Resch now trying to do anything she can to control. Tap back play. 3 O'Hara jerseys in the zone. They can play a little tic-tac-toe. It is not controlled.
I feel the intensity picking up. I can sense it in a little bit more frantic play. Quite a few more turnovers in the last couple minutes. Just I think teams they're nervous. There's 13 minutes on the clock. There's plenty of time, but you see Prendie just digging to get that goal, and O'Hara just trying to preserve their lead.
There is a squiggle line of jerseys on the sideline here, basically alternating white, maroon, as Prendie and O'Hara are in 1v1 battles, and this is Caruso against Gatto. She gets to the outside line, it goes through and tips off of the stick of Emma Shallow out of play, so a restart about 30 out.
Prendie's really got to look to make a corner here, just to get a corner. Get it on the opponent's feet, force an obstruction, do something to give them an opportunity to set up, let their big sticks take a shot on goal through a penalty corner.
Top of the circle, Caruso had the ball and was just completely dispossessed by Makila Favaza, the sophomore defensive midi for O'Hara. Sent it out of the zone. Too many bodies in play. Restart coming on the stick of Della George. George gets it to Caruso. Caruso trying to body her way through 2 O'Hara players.
I mean, George had the ball there, and there were 5 white jerseys in front of her, and only 1 burgundy jersey, only 1 teammate even close enough or any option for a pass.
Mackenzie Resch guilty of the obstruction call for O'Hara. Miss-hit play from Prendie on the restart from Dolan, sends it out of bounds across the back line. 16-yard start, Favaza. Right one, shot across to Gatto. She tries to release Mackenzie Resch down the line. Resch also had the option with Ferralio. Nothing doing for either. Prendie, nothing going. Favaza right there lands on the stick of Shallow. That's Emma Shallow. Too quick on the start there. Favaza this time going inside to Emily Resch. Resch tried to go for a flick hit. Can't get it. And here's a run between Mackenzie Resch. Resch has 1 player inside. That's DeFeo. Gatto, and it goes up into the face of Maeve Finnegan. O'Hara will have the ball still. Restart Emily Resch. Resch going up top to Emma Shallow. Shallow kicks it inside to Mackenzie Resch. Chance again. Backdoor shot. No avail. Goes up top again, and a shot chance from Gatto again. Blocked by the foot of a Prendie defender. Corner called. Third of the half for O'Hara, their 6th overall. 9:44 and change left to go in this game. O'Hara leading 2-1, trying to put an insurance goal on the board.
O'Hara getting that ball on goal. They have a couple passes leading into a shot, and then they're firing it toward the goal, getting on the goalkeeper's pads. Prendie's going to have to do the same. They're going to have to stop, I guess, looking for that perfect shot and just get something on goal, get a little mixer going, and try to follow up on a rebound.
Emily Resch guilty of the foot infraction as she tried to bump the corner across to Michaela Favaza, and so it sends the way of the Pandas. 9 minutes left. Midfield play here. Prendie trying to gain anything offensively, picked off by 3 white jerseys led by Emily Resch and Sarah Grassi. Grassi goes on the outside line to DeFeo. She tries to sweep inside, nothing doing to the outside line. Prendie cannot control the line, turning it over. O'Hara will have the restart. Conditioning starting to become a bit of a factor here as we go later in the game, and the length of play on the field and the speed of play that O'Hara has done. They have kicked up the adrenaline, they have kicked up the speed, and they are trying to put the screws to Prendie in the remaining 8 minutes of this match, leading 2-1 on a run from Shallow. That was Katie Shallow, who had the run, shot inside, tips off of DeFeo, past Rafferty into the goal, putting...
This is their chance. They need to move quickly.
Prendie here now with a chance. This is on the stick of Haley Horan. Horan does have 1 goal on the game for the Pandas today, but they turn it back over, and Favaza has the restart to Gatto. It is picked off by Finnegan. Finnegan with a chance here. It lands onto the stick of Egan. Alexis Egan slips, falls, and turns the ball over in the process, and it goes back the way of O'Hara with Gatto. That is picked off by Dolan. Dolan goes to midfield, top of the circle, ball inbound, corner called.
That was well executed. Dolan stepped up, passed it to the top of the circle. Little tip, trying to get that on goal, and a penalty corner created. It's exactly what they needed to do.
First corner of the half for Prendie, as 2 players, including Emily Resch and Erin Weld, blocked out an attempted play from Reagan Dolan. Goes up top onto the stick of Finnegan. She looks, goes to the outside line, it goes through, tips off of an approaching Prendie stick. That was Alexis Egan.
Wow.
Could not get it past Gianna Trevia.
I think that was the second time this game where a girl for Prendie was unmarked on a post on a corner shot, but it looks a lot easier than what it is to tip that ball, to redirect it. That's no easy task, and they did come up short this time again.
Tips off of Finnegan, restart by Favaza. Favaza bouncing past, goes through everyone, does not even come in bounds of play actually. Prendie will have the restart here, and this will be Reagan Dolan. Dolan goes to midfield, long ball, gets it onto the stick of Daly Ewing. Her bump, though, leads it into the midfield of play, and it is a run here now that will have to be reconnected by Ewing. She just takes it on her turn out of bounds completely, so a restart for Emily Resch outside. 5:25 left to go. Long pass inside, gets bumped off. of the stick of an O'Hara player and controlled. Katie Shallow restarts. She goes right to the circle off the foot of a Prendie player. That was Maeve Sullivan, guilty of the infraction. Another corner for O'Hara. 4th of the half, 8th overall, and with 4:57 to go, O'Hara a chance for another insurance goal.
The fact that there have not been as many corners in these games as you do see in some other high school games really is a testament to the strong defense. The defense on both ends definitely not kicking the ball, not creating obstructions, and really limiting the corners on both ends of the field.
Popped up top, a chance for Emily Resch. She is impacted before she can even get to the ball, so corner called. And it will go back. Lands onto the stick of Resch. Resch had a chance there. Favaza had a chance. No go. Pops out of play off of a Prendie stick. Just trying to sweep the zone. And so Emily Resch goes outside to the line for the restart. Coming on 3:45 left to play in the second half. Resch draws right inside, pops off, and she will go back and do this one more time.
Prendie's got to make things happen with the big ball at this point, or at least some strong stick-to-stick passes, 20-yard hits if they can. They have little less than, or a little bit more than 3 minutes to tie this up.
O'Hara has had run-of-the-mill most of the second half, and is just trying to put pressure down low now. They have a ball right at the top of the circle. That's Grassi. Grassi sweeps reverse position, trying to get it inside to Camper. She cannot do so. Kicked out of bounds, and a timeout called by the Pandas with 3:04 left to go. And you talked about how tired Prendie was getting. They need to take a breath, but they also need to come up with strategy here. With 3 minutes to go, as O'Hara has simply run them all over the field for about 25 straight minutes.
Absolutely. I mean, I was kind of looking for this timeout to happen even 5 minutes ago, or for Prendie to make some substitutions. They were looking a little tired. I mean, it's been a lot of running this game. I'm not putting this game in O'Hara's hands quite yet. I think the game can go either way. 3 minutes in hockey, you got plenty of time. Two very talented teams, so let's see what happens here. I think the adjustments they're going to have to make is really stretch their field and almost kind of look for a bigger ball, or at least a 20-yard pass to get this going, and hopefully just setting themselves up for a penalty corner. I think that's their best opportunity.
Their one goal today early in the first half of this game was actually scored off of a penalty corner just about 9 minutes into the game, which put Prendie up on the board 1-0. The shot from Haley Horan. But then it has been all O'Hara since that point, including from the 3:30 mark of the first half to now the 3:04 mark left in the second half. They have put 2 goals on the board and lead this game at the moment. Timeout was called by Prendie, and now as the refs blow the second whistle, meaning the teams need to come back onto the field, Prendie has done so. O'Hara finally breaks the huddle now and sends back out.
This game has certainly lived up to a Phila Field Hockey Game of the Week in terms of excitement, talent, and definitely a desire to win.
Whistle goes. Prendie has the ball here. Looking for anything offensively they can go. It is to the outside line, and not what you want to do is they immediately sweep it outside the line and turn it over to O'Hara. Emily Resch will have time on the sideline now. Restart by Resch with 2:40 to go. Prendie gets the interception. They are completely boxed in. Gatto gets a stop for O'Hara here. It is chopped down and controlled by Camper. Camper back to Gatto. Back to Camper now. She has an able Sarah Grassi up in the midfield. Tipped off by Prendie. sends back in, goes off of the foot of an exiting Aaron Weld from the zone. Comes back. Rendazzo has it now. Rendazzo can just sweep down the line. She does and actually connects with DeFeo. Prendie has to move fast here now. Under 2 minutes to play in the game. If they're looking to tie, a stopped ball by Maeve Finnegan just got left hanging. Was picked off by both Gatto and Shallow. And now onto the stick of Abby Hoyle. Hoyle gets across to Finnegan. Finnegan, restart play here. She sweeps in line. She has Egan. Egan has a chance and a run for the circle here. Picked off of the play.
Nice
O'Hara
defense.
can see this one through if they can gain offensive zone play, but instead they send it out of bounds. Goes off actually the stick of Abby Hoyle, so it's going to go on the stick of Resch. Resch sweeps through. Turnover, unfortunate, goes back to Resch, sweeps through again, turnover, unfortunately. And then out of bounds, Pandas cannot control. Resch has play, tips up off of a Prendie stick, goes out of bounds, so Resch is going to gain about 5 yards and still have the ball.
Under the minute mark at this point.
Resch is just trying to hold play here as much as she can as she gains her spot on the field. 40 seconds left to go. Resch hits, ball pops up, goes midfield, sticked away. Emily Resch is just showing why she is one of the top all-stars on this team, and it gets now across. Egan has a chance here, but Favaza blocks her off of play. Quick start here from Dolan is whistled down, and the clock stopped with 19.2 seconds to go. A yellow card issued to Gatto for dangerous play, and Gatto will come off. She doesn't understand that call, but it is one that has O'Hara down. 12 seconds left now. Now O'Hara has a run of play here. Ball control by Sarah Grassi is all she needs to do. 5 seconds to go. It's on to the stick of DeFeo. 2-1. Game is over. O'Hara has a victory over Bonner-Prendie 2-1 and has avenged a double defeat last season.
Fantastic game. Strong performance by both teams, very disciplined hockey, strong passing, good strategy, and I think O'Hara just turned it on and controlled the second half and kept their lead for the win.
O'Hara will go to 5-1 on the PCL. Bonner-Prendie will drop to 5-2 in the PCL. And that puts these two teams who just played a 2-1 battle deadlocked at 2-3 in the standings, with only Carroll sitting above them, leading towards the PCL championship. These two teams will meet one more time, and now with O'Hara having the victory, that game just became all the more in how things will land to who probably will play Archbishop Carroll in that PCL championship game.
And I'm sure that in the post-game talk, Prendie will actually be talking about that, what they need to do, the changes they need to make to win on the second go-around. Right now, O'Hara's probably just basking in the victory. It was a great game by both teams. I applaud them both.
Prendie had run of the mill for about the first 15 minutes of this game, scoring 9 minutes into this game on a goal from Haley Horan, tipping it in past goalkeeper Gianna Trevia, and then it seemed to flip after a timeout called by O'Hara. For the remaining 15 minutes of the first half and the entire 30 minutes of the second half, it became a 45 minutes Lions domination clinic, and they just showed everything capable. 2 goals scored, and they send this one to the books victoriously. We're going to take a quick break on the Sports Fanbase Network and be right back with the Payroll Services Solutions postgame show. Back on the Payroll Services postgame show with Katie Shallow, the junior forward for the Cardinal O'Hara Lions. Victorious today, 2-1 over your arch rival, Bonner-Prendie. and a goal and an assist on the day for you. So a very big contribution to the game. Talk about how big a win this is for you in the PCL.
Well, obviously they're our rivals, so it's always to get a good win against Prendie. But I think this will help us for playoffs, and it would help us for Carroll if we make it to the PCL. And yeah.
You had a huge run that sort of just broke everything open for you guys, picking up a ball midfield and just went about 50 yards 1v1, putting it past their goalkeeper. How important was it for you coming out of that timeout that we saw your coaches call to change the pace of the game, change what you guys were doing, spread the field a little bit more?
Well, we knew it was our game from the start, and when they scored, we didn't get our heads down. And when we went into the timeout, our coach Carly told us like this is our game, and like we should be winning right now. Like we should be the ones to win. And when I got the ball, I knew I had to score. I knew I had to do it for my team.
Like Prendie's defense was just trying to pick you every possible way. I felt like every 5 seconds we were calling your name for a restart. How tough is that as a forward trying to gain momentum, gain space, that every 5 yards you're just restarting the ball?
It's really difficult, especially when our midfields are trying to get back when the ball is still on our offensive side. So it's really like important for everyone to keep pushing up and keep our heads up even though the ball keeps stopping.
You had a few flick plays that kind of opened up the speed of play, especially in the second half. It seemed like from about 15 minutes into the first half through the entire 30 of the second half, you guys lit a fire in your guts. What did Coach Spader say to you guys that just turned the game?
Coach Spader told us that ever since we started on that end line running from the first day of preseason, she's always said, girls, what's the thing that you want to accomplish at the end of the season? And that's to get to the PCL and obviously win it. And so that's every time she counts seconds, that's a sprint we have to run. So we always are trying to motivate each other into like trying to get to our end goal and just really seeing that plaque in our hands.
We talked during the game about how talented O'Hara is athletically. So many players playing multiple sports. You're one of them, headed to Old Dominion next year, but not for field hockey. You're going there for lacrosse. Yeah. How interesting is that for coming out of a school like this that you see so many players playing multiple sports and playing at such a high level in those sports?
It's really like accomplishing to know that I have girls playing next to me that are going so many other colleges and that obviously have potential going anywhere else. It's really like fulfilling to see that our coach and like is really happy for all of us to play with her.
That's awesome. Thanks a lot for joining us on the show. We're going to pass it down the line here again, bringing in the senior captain, Aaron Weld. Little ice pack on the hip there. So it's a rough and tumble game against an arch rival opponent. We saw you take a couple of body hits during the game today, but you come out of it victorious. How big is this for you going forward? Because you guys have to do a quick turnaround tomorrow and play against Archbishop Wood.
Yeah, it's huge. Playing Prendie is always such a tough game. They're always so competitive, and it's just awesome. But we know that we have a huge game tomorrow because usually it's us, Carroll, Prendie, Wood, always top four usually. And to come back and play them tomorrow, especially away on their home turf, is always tough. But we have to not let up.
You lost to Prendie twice last year. Obviously, that won't be the case this year. You do have to play them one more time in the season. How much mental advantage do you have now going into that game?
I think it's huge that now like everyone thought before that we could beat them, but now we see it. Like it's huge to see that, but we also have to remember that they're going to come out, like we won, so they're going to come out harder than they did this time because we came out trying to beat them because they beat us last year. So you have to remember that going in.
All right, thanks for joining us. We're going to pass it down and bring in the player who made it all possible for O'Hara to go off with a victory today, and that's junior forward Sarah Grazi.
Hi.
So Shallow just kind of flicks a ball into the circle. It pops around a couple of bodies, and you're standing right there with the opportunity to put the screws in this game. What did you see as that ball's coming towards you?
Well, I was just thinking in my head, you got to get the ball, like this for your team. It's 1-1, like it's on you.
So a game-winning goal today puts you now at 5-1 on the PCL season. You're now tied with Prendie and one behind Carroll. How big is this going into the remaining few weeks of the season,
It's so important that we just have to keep it up. It doesn't end here.
this game?
Yeah. We've been conditioned from the start. First day of preseason, Carly said, "What's your end goal?" And we said PCL.
All right, well, thanks for joining us today. We're going to send it off. That's all for us on the Sports Fan Base Network, the Phila Field Hockey Game of the Week. We will have week number 7 coming up. Check in on philafieldhockey.com for the poll. See what 4 games are available. And, of course, all games presented to you by Payroll Service Solutions, the best company in Philadelphia for small company benefit needs. If you need anything, contact Payroll Service Solutions at 215-624-0922 or 866-PAY-EASY. They'll take care of you, and they'll continue to support high school sports and the Sports Fan Base Network. For Matt Gillis and Kathleen Simone, we'll see you next week.